When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Hello everybody and welcome to The Meta Show. This week I'm joined again by Kazanir and Betty, and we will be talking about the patch and then basically Gobbins being a coward, as it seems. So
it doesn't look good, does it?
It does not.
It doesn't look
it's just
good.
A sig.
But yes, it's just
a sig.
We've been through this timeline before. I suddenly realized
I have seen this movie before.
How are we doing, chat? Only 100 people. It's Thursday, I suppose.
I know. So let's get into our first thing, which is the top story today. So, top story. CCP seems to have attempted to fix their blunders with the crabbing in Nosek. Hey, look, it's Brisk. So,
Brisk is in chat. Watch out.
I actually have some numbers for this.
Oh, really? So
Yes.
yeah, we're so behind. This was a patch that happened on Friday. That increased a lot of the numbers for some of the new Equinox sites and fixed a couple of things connected to ratting sites also. So, what have we heard about this so far? Don't make me say everything this time.
So, well, gotta get a word in. So, yeah, they've increased the volumes in the mining anomalies by, I believe, removing the smaller rocks and increasing the size of the bigger rocks. Including in certain ones, there is one huge rock. As you can see on the screen, several asteroids have been combined so that the majority of the asteroids in each location require multiple strip miner cycles to be mined out, which is great. You're not wasting your time just one cycling stuff. All the different mineral types have been increased in their size, the ore volume, as you can see on the screen. Certain ones increased more than others. So, like the megasite, for instance, has been increased more than all the others. Same with the pyrite.
Sure. Yeah. So they buffed more the stuff that we already had access to versus the stuff that Nelsec did not previously have access to that we've been hurting for. In particular, I think ISO, Mex, and Nox did not get nearly as much of a buff. Still substantial on a couple of them, but ISO in particular did not go up that much. I think. Betty, do you mine by chance? Because I do not. So if you're a miner, feel free to offer commentary.
Yeah. So I'm not a miner.
Okay,
there's a funny story behind it, but I am not really a miner in NullSec.
Me neither, surprisingly, yeah. But I know enough to talk to them, and so they tell me that the thing they love most about this is the sizing of the rocks themselves changing, and I don't know where that is on the screen. Yes, it says the size of several asteroids have been vastly increased, and that's in all the upgrades also. So now the original rocks were like 10 or 15k M3, and people were getting carpal tunnel, and we didn't want that. But as chat says, I love big rocks, and I cannot lie. So people seem happy with that. At least there does seem to be a faction of people that want back nothing but the old school infinite ore, and clearly CCP is not comfortable with that. But what's at the very bottom of this, Dave? What's the surprise with a gooey red center?
The mining escalations, which according to chat are still a pain in the ass to get, have been given more ore types. You can now get the Triglavian ore in the mining escalations. which is great. It means you don't have to go to Potrin to get that, which
Don't have to go to the
is
triangle.
huge.
Yeah,
Even
so
better.
this was only a rumor at first. Someone was saying this looks a lot like the home sites, but the Merc's not here. And then she got to the center. This was Dawn of the site and was like, the Mercoxit's here. They copied the home site. So it looks like they did drag out some of the composition of the very valuable home sites that only spawn in the corners of the triangle as escalation here. So I think that was a good, we can do this in 48 hours type of reaction.
That is
If you remember all the way back to last week, this patch dropped exactly a week ago, and so we've only been running it. It's only been 7 days, but it had a big impact in terms of at least helping people feel like they weren't getting directly nerfed with the new stuff.
Yeah, that the changes to that escalation really do make a lot of changes, and it could bring down the price of some Triglavian ships as well. Depending on how many people get the escalation. And if they bring along their friends. Because if you start sharing escalations, it can only make it better.
It is large. It's 8,400 M3 it says here, so it's not really a solo business. So some people are pointing out the sites are less dense in a way. You have to skip between systems if you want to be mining only asteroid ore all the time, whereas the previous stuff was much crappier. People were mining less of the Bistot because it was the worst ore, but there was enough that you could just keep mining essentially in a system. So there are some trade-offs.
There was
chat points out I say solo, and I really mean that when I say that. If you are a large scale miner, and of course many people are, then that M3 number is just a number, and you know what your M3 per hour is with all of your alts on the field, and you will be soloing, and that can be okay, right? I would love to see us turn around and figure out how to anchor 30 of these tomorrow. I'm not predicting that. A lot of attitude when we poll people is sort of, let's see what they do next, because there are some good points, but you are still giving up a lot to make the jump, just in straight for strategic upgrades. But then also the overall density of the region seems like it'll still decrease, and so we only have how many systems is it transition now? Do you know, Dave? I think it's only a handful.
I haven't been. I've been a little bit busy with preparations for stuff and things.
We're not at that part of the show yet. We're not at that part of the show.
I haven't been done there, but I will respond to one of the comments about mining that you can clear a site in an hour, then it takes 4 hours to respawn. That's when you take your stuff and move to another system. Because back in the golden age of Delve, we were doing that to Colossals, and what you did is you packed up and you moved to another system until that site was respawned. Because we'd have about 60 oracles mining one Colossal and it would evaporate.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we'll have to see what the MAR brings, right? As it's currently laid out, there's going to be some big sort of chunking first as we install the ones we want, but then when the cliff happens for migration, and anything that people have saved in an unmigrated state has to go away and go to Equinox. And we have no idea what's going to happen between now and then, or then in the next expansion. So there's a great deal of uncertainty, which I was hugely in favor of their migration path. It seemed like a good idea to say everyone has 6 months to transition. At the same time, it's creating this sort of a very difficult period where there is some uncertainty and people are trying to play that uncertainty for all it's worth, which is it's to be expected. It's Eve. So how do we get past that? I'm not sure CCP has figured that out.
The main thing to remember as well is there's only 1 or 2 mining systems at the moment, but this is just a test for when we have to transition everything. So you got to think scale. Everything you're doing now, yes, maybe you've got one system that takes 4 hours to respawn, but when we transition, you may have X amount that take that long to respawn, so you can move to another system to do more mining, or we still I've pressed the wrong button there. I've managed to hit a button on my stream deck. Let's move that out of the way. Or we still have the moons that you can go around and mine as well. There will always be stuff for miners to mine, which is the important thing.
Sturmbort says mining is so bad now. Locust FCs are trying to become Beehive FCs. I'm not completely convinced of that. We'll see how things go. There, people really love the escalation, and we do love having all of these different mineral types available in nullsec. That's a huge difference. So I think the moment when we finally have enough of these that we feel like we can home produce and are not solely an importer of ore, I don't know if we'll flip the trade balance anytime soon because of our production numbers, which is really our strength. But it would be nice to have more of that produced at home. We'll see.
Also, having Locust FCs become Beehive FCs it's like cross-training your staff at work. It's amazing because then there's A, more Beehive FCs, and B, they have an understanding of what's going on behind the curtain when they get dropped, which I think is amazing because there's a lot of stuff that people
Definitely
don't get has to be in place to be able to do things like that. So
guard beat training is great.
Yeah. So we have updates to the ratting as well. Let's go to that.
This is a super interesting topic.
So, first of all, they extended the timer to be able to complete the capital escalations to 72 hours to allow for getting into position and running them. Which is...
people with just one or two capital pilots were immediately hitting jump fatigue problems. Which you think about it, and it's pretty normal to take you're done with your cap pilot for the day, you log it off, 5 hours, no big deal. But when you're on a 24-hour timer and you might generate quite a few of these with a ratting team, suddenly it was getting a little awkward. So I think that's basically a good change. There's no reason not to do that.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, I could easily do that in 24 hours, but then that's me with like an army of characters to be able to move a capital around with.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. And the default range for escalations, I think, is quite large, right? It can take you quite far away.
Well, I've been getting ones that are like 3 systems away constantly. I haven't had one that's more than like 2 constellations away from me, which must just be my luck. But it's also not in the new system. Well, it's the new escalations, but it's not in any of the new systems, so maybe that plays a bit of a...
It depends where you're doing
role.
It exactly. 1DQ is so weirdly close that you can get an escalation up to Fountain still, but there are some parts of Delve that cannot, depending on your gate jumps.
I'm down
at
by
the same time,
the entrance to period basis.
See, and that's off the ring. The rest of Delve is this ring that is actually basically 20 jumps in either direction to K7D, where Brave lives, is 19 jumps from 1DQ, and there's essentially 2 different branches you can take, one going through Fake Clarius and the other one up past NPC Delve. But then if you go down south, then you're a lot farther.
Right.
I'm pretty curious, since we see a lot of folks sharing the escalations or handing them off to someone else to complete, if we will see more people keep their escalations instead.
I don't know. Personally, I used to run escalations, but it actually would cost me money for me to go and run them now because I can make more money from my Stormbringer rating than stopping and doing an escalation.
I have been told that the current the cap sites, the shielded star, the starbase and the hives and stuff are not good loot, right? And that's actually the main reason that people are letting them rot, is they're lacking what you would expect, whether that's good faction drops or whether that's overseers or whether that's chance at dead space, right? Even a typical this thing comes from high level sites, right? You get 10 of 10s from is it a haven that those starters?
Yeah, I've been getting them in havens.
I mean that. So the fact that there's not even faction loot, to say nothing of dead space, I told them already. There's big room for them to do some nullsec rejuvenation here and in other places where we're missing some content.
Yeah. Well, there's a question in chat which about alliance policies. You will know when you know. They get announced when they're ready. Sort of
So
thing.
as I understand it, and please don't quote me if there's an official policy post that overrules what I say here. But my understanding is we're just keeping the default escalation rules for now, and that if you get the drop, you get the drop, and you could sell it. But they may have made a temporary policy in a broadcast. I have to go check. Um, there are not very many yet. I would expect that we would keep the default way, and it's just sort of a lottery ticket system because it doesn't seem plausible to manage any other way. So that what that does is solve my problem with cherry picking because it gets all the miners to mine the site all the way to the end for the chance at the golden Mercoxit ticket, Spotamine ticket, whatever. There's spot in that site. I know how miners feel about that. Right. See, you hear him. He's got it. It's in his brainstem. So that's kind of cool, that mechanic, I think. But we'll see how that goes. We're always open to changing the rules if we need to.
So the next change they made to routing is they have tweaked the minor and major threat detection arrays. These are the ones that give you your standard
The base anoms, yeah.
routing sites. So as you can see on the screen, they've changed the respawn time from 20 minutes to 12 minutes, and I believe that's from the moment the site is spawned. So pretty much you arrive, that timer will start ticking.
Yep.
Which is great because we'll go on to this in a minute. They've also increased the amount of sites you get, I'm pretty sure, which means when you're Stormbringer routing, you can go around and pretty much chain them, and you'll still have a site to do, as long as you're not going nuts with Stormbringers like somebody in ASCII does, where you've got like 12 Stormbringers.
Yep.
And then they've adjusted some stuff in drone space, which, I mean, this is a game stream, we don't really care. But
yeah, that's
you can read
just
that.
some
They've
site
adjusted
tuning, but in the splits, yeah. So what's interesting about this is they originally had this timer up at 20 minutes, and what that caused was a weird situation where if you were running the site fairly slowly, say Ishtar and slower, you would still get an instant respawn with the 20 minutes because you would take that long to do the site. And so what was going on there was that your carrying capacity, the number of sites you would be consuming, would drop from 2 to 1. Under the old system, you always need 2 sites because it doesn't start to repop until you're done with it. So even if you're going very slow, you're always taking up 2 sites in the system. Now this drops it to 1, but with it going to a 20-minute repop, that was very noticeable because then the graph started to cross, and what would happen is at 20 minutes, it was actually worse for a Stormbringer on the new way than on the old system, even with the small amount of time they got back for running the site in 2 minutes. So this unifies it, and essentially the math now is that whatever your clear time was or is, however fast you run an anom with your characters, whether that's a Marauder, don't do that. A Super Carrier, don't do that either. Stormbringers, Thunder Children, Ishtar, whatever your clear time is, that number has dropped by 1 now. So you consume 1 less site in the system under this method, whatever it was before. So if your clear time previously was 5 minutes, you're consuming between 3 and 4 sites. You need the 4th site before the first one starts to repop. Now it is down just to 3 because they will have started repopping and the 3rd one will be back before you finish the 3rd site. So that's consistent. No matter how fast you're going, is you now consume 1 less site. So what's interesting about that is it's still a much huger buff to Ishtars and Merms because they're dropping from 2 to 1. They get the largest increase in terms of density. We can pack twice as many Merms into our systems as we previously could. Whereas Stormbringers get much less of a buff with this. It's slight, they will consume fewer, but not that much. So I think that's interesting.
Kazanir's over here slapping the hooded Dalv. I can fit so many merms in this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just trying to play the game they give us. If I need to fill it with plankton, I will.
Um, so I was going to say stuff that has completely thrown me there.
Sorry.
So, one thing I will mention, I saw in chat, I just remember what I was going to say. Escalations. They've increased the amount of escalations you get, even 10/10s. Like, you get an insane amount. Well, this is from me Stormbringer Rain. I've been getting so many, it is unreal. And
interesting. Are you selling them or are you letting them rot?
No, I just let
What's
them
going
rot
on?
Because by the time I'm done Stormbringer Rain, I'm like, I want to go to sleep.
We could crush the price of armor modules. Crush. Sorry, go ahead, Betty.
I was going to say, sometimes you just call it out and somebody wants to take it.
Yeah, if somebody, I always say to the corp, or if I'm streaming, I say it on the stream, hey, I've got a escalation in this system. Anybody want it? And if somebody says they want it, I will, after I'm done, go get it. But if with the amount of escalations I've been getting, if I went round, it would take me a good hour and a half after I'm done to go around and get all those escalations. And
it's interesting because I've never gotten an escalation.
Really?
As much as I've never received one.
I get a lot.
As much as I do it. Yeah.
Probably
that's odd.
It probably also comes from I clear sites in like a minute and a half. So I go through them like crazy.
Don't answer that.
Right, yeah, Betty. I know. I won't reveal her secrets, but I know Betty knows how to rat, which is why that surprised me.
I'm shocked to that as well because I get the amount of times I'm like, oh, escalation, oh, escalation. Maybe it has something to do with amount of characters.
No,
maybe because I'm only using 4. I don't know.
It says Y flag to me is what it says, which is an ancient reference to Asheron's call that no one remembers anymore. So
So we have over on this screen here, I've managed to dig up some of the old patch notes rating numbers on the left, like site numbers, and the new ones on the right. This is only for the major one because they didn't release... When they first released this patch, they didn't release all the numbers like they did in the most recent patch. They only released what you see on the left here, which was 2 segments of the major threat. So what we're looking at here, for those that don't understand it, is say we looked at the top chart or table, whatever you want to call it, on the left. Those are the old numbers for the amount of sites you would get in the best ranking systems that you can get. That's the true negative one, has tons of rating sites, has the best, or it's the dog's bollocks. To correlate that to the new numbers, you need to look at the bottom of the right hand table to see what they've changed it to. So on here you can see that the major threat 1 has received in the top tier rating systems an extra Forlorn hub.
Yep.
And it has got 2 havens and 1 sanctum still. But as you go up, they've done some more tweaking. So my headset just did a weird thing.
I believe that each of the ones we know about, and so they each gained 1 site of some kind, and I think they might have said that in the blog, in fact. So there's a slight increase to density.
By the looks of it, Array 2 has actually lost a hub, but gained a haven, which I think, it benefits certain people. For instance, for me, Stormbringer rating, I don't use Forlorn hubs. I use the Forsaken hubs and the Havens and the Forsaken Valley coins. So, I mean, that doesn't affect me.
A lot of frigates in the Forlorn hub, if I remember right.
Yeah, and it's very spread out.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, they're a little bit more. They're probably easier with the Stormbringers than they are with the Thunderchilds.
If you're running if your Lightning Rod is a wolf in the Thunderchilds, then you can do it.
No, not for me.
there's a dude in the system I've at that's been driving me nuts because he's been running gas havens, which, for those that don't know, has massively spread out spawns because his wolf
Yeah.
can just zip about it. And I walk in on the gas haven after ignoring them all. And I'm like, why is this here? Please no. So yeah,
Interesting.
I'm not
Hey,
gonna.
good for him if he's using those havens.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
cool.
use more sites. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, those of us that don't need to work out a new system of working out which one's which before we walk to it, maybe an alt or something. We're goons. We'll work that out. I'm not going to go through.
Someone.
Go on.
No, go ahead.
I'm not going to go through each one of these, but basically the top tier system with major threat 3, as you can see here, has gained a haven, which is useful. Whether it depending on what type of haven it is, I mean, depends if it's useful to you. What were you going to say, Kaz?
Yeah, I mean, someone mentioned in chat the number of sites you get is still a lot less. And to an extent, that's true, right? If we tried to convert all of Delve, this is part of what we haven't figured out is how much do you lose for the full conversion? How many sites end up missing ratting entirely, whether that's because they're for a bridge, they're for mining, they're for something else, and you end up not being able to double fit. Some systems will be able to double or triple fit. It depends on power and workforce, but the overall tuning does seem harsh, and we've communicated that it still seems harsh. We'll see what they do and what the future holds along those lines. But that is part of why we haven't rushed to just convert everything immediately, because we're not sure about that. But we are working it out because, again, keep playing the game they've given us. If it does turn out that we can exploit it better and think that the MAR can be made better, then we will do that and do whatever is necessary to play that way. It's just the math is very hard to do, which is good. It should be complicated.
Yeah. Also, with the respawn times, I believe we could probably stack more on top of each other, as we said earlier. So you could have more people using a system, which
exactly
accounts for less system.
Previously, if the system had 12 Ishar viable sites, that's fitting 6 Ishars. But now, if you look up, say you go to one of the worst systems, and you can put a major 2 in it. A lot of systems can fit a major 2 if that's the only thing they're doing, right? At least ours. Maybe yours suck. I don't know. But you look at a major 2 that has at least 5 good sites for an Ishtar, more if they do the crappy ones. But now they're each only consuming 1 site because they work on the instant respawns, right? Suddenly, so the whole thing just operates much differently than the current thing where you have a ton of sites and tons of them are just bad. And also carrying capacity gets eaten up relatively quickly, actually.
Okay. I appear to be having an issue with the stream a sec. Something's getting in the way.
Well, we've talked about crab stuff all this time. Yeah. Maybe we should get to our big story.
However, there was something playing up with the transmission.
Brave Capsuleers of the Imperium. See what I did there? You are about to embark upon the great cleansing of Ketch. The eyes of New Eden are upon you. The hopes and prayers of bored as fuck people everywhere fly with you. In company with our brave allies, did it again, and brothers in arms in TNT, Lawn, Dracaris, and the rest of the Imperium, you will bring about the destruction of PandaFam's beachhead for SIGs, whatever the fuck that means, the elimination of CNTZ tyranny over the oppressed people of Ketch, and the securing of at least some content for a couple of weeks unless Gobbins grows a pair. Your task will not be an easy one. All right, well, let's be real for a second. It's probably going to be an easy one because those shits are already running like diarrhea. This isn't 2020 anymore. This is 2024. Much has happened since the Great Triumph in Vietnam. CCP has inflicted great defeats upon all of us in Nullsec, driving up the cost of everything. The price of Plex is too damn high. Despite that, our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in memes and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of SRP. We can at least handle a couple of months of fighting unless Dave Archer starts whelping fleets at an unsustainable rate, which is about probably going to start happening in 2 weeks, not going to lie. I, Fountain Frank, spokesman for the Imperium and your favorite ship poster who is not SEMA, have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory, or at least a couple of Keepstar kills. Good luck, and let us beseech the blessing of Almighty Bob upon this great and noble undertaking. And for our opponents, please stop running away, you big babies. Let's get to work, people.
Okay, I managed to get control. I'm bad at acting. I'm gonna drop that now. Um,
I'm tearing up
I love
here.
that.
I'm moved.
That's amazing.
I'm moved by the message of the Imperium to our people. Thank you, Frank. We needed that. It's been so long since we've had a proper war announcement. It seems like he's doing good.
Yeah, he seems to be living a good life. I heard Frank is spending more time with Brisk's wife.
We'll let them work that out.
Yeah.
Right. I'll be excited to see him. A lot of Fountain residents turn out to seem like they're coming down south. As a matter of fact, it's going to be a big old party.
It does.
So yeah, what happened here? Bring us up to speed. It's been a while since the last show. We did some anchoring, I think it was.
Yes, there is a keeps anchoring. However, I saw an amazing meme the other day, and I'm going to pop it up on stream. CCP are offering a new pack, everybody. A jump freighter operator pack to help you evac. Look on the stream. To help you evac UTEC-Q quicker, Fam. For just $9.99, you too can fly a jump freighter.
Do they really have an expert system for a jump freighter, or are you trolling? I don't want to go
troll.
look.
It's a troll.
Oh,
before everybody goes crazy, it's a troll.
That would have been sick, though. That would have been so good. It's only a few skill injectors if anyone needs a jump freighter.
Yeah. However, if any PamFam are watching, I have a jump freighter. You can contract your stuff to Dave Archer at 0 collateral, and I will move it to a new home in Doubt. So, moving on to the show and tell for this one, we have a ping from the Gobbins man. Right after
wait. No, I mean you're telling me they've already reacted and they're not gearing themselves up
they're not.
to blow up our anchoring. We haven't even talked. We dropped an anchoring citadel. They're going to blow it up,
for those
right?
that have been living under a rock, we anchored a Keepstar in a system which I'm pretty sure they can anchor a Sinojammer. We all know how they love those things. They love their jammers.
I confirm that is
especially when it's a Goon Keepstar. Yeah, we have anchored a Keepstar on grid with their staging Keepstar and UTEC-Q. Gobbin's immediate reaction was definitely, right, the fight's on, let's do... No, it wasn't. No, not at all. His immediate reaction was, effective immediately, we're relocating all assets to 1P Keepstar, which is basically one jump back. They've gone from, for those that are around in the Dow War, they've gone from T5Z to YZ9. Essentially.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. So for those who are not looking at a map, 1P TAC-W is directly on the border of Curse, right? or very close to it. I don't remember if it's
It's
literally the
very close.
border
UQ
system or
is
if it's one
actually the
jump
border
off.
system, of course.
No, UTEC Q is down in the middle. It's UTEC Q connects to
Jamunda.
the other one.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Right.
1P's the one that
UTEC Q
connects to
connects to
Jamunda.
oh shit, which is what makes it so interesting. That's why they put their keep there, and why we have now also put our keep there. But 1P TAC also connects to Jamunda. It connects to really the other end of
All the way
Curse,
around.
to northern Curse, where oh shit is in southern Curse. So
yeah. But yeah, his immediate thing was run away. Now this is interesting. This is a ping to their entire alliance, but it's just 6. So he says they're going to let us pretty much retake it and allow their SIGs to flip it back. I don't know why. Why would you want to? We don't necessarily want that space they took. That's why we let them take it in the damn first place. Like,
this is a really interesting thing where I see in a way how our alliances talk past each other. And I don't think he's achieving what he wants, right? I guess their attitude has been to pretend a lot and pretend that that they only have SIGs there, and pretend that they're not using the keep star of a totally separate block to stage out of, and pretend that they don't have a ton of main fleet assets there that he has to ping to restage, and pretend that they haven't put their own keep stars into ref to protect them when we do come down there, and thereby through all that pretending create a situation where you can say, look at all this great work we did, we cleared catch, and now through just our SIGs, and they can take this win, and we're gonna make goons do all this work, and we're gonna run away and not and say, I think I read somewhere he said we just don't anticipate a fight over the anchoring keep star. Is that in one of the later
I didn't
things?
see that. As far as I'm aware, he hasn't commented on that. However, what I've got up here is from their general chat, which I took a picture of earlier. Shock horror. Where he's saying that we gave up constellations without a fight and just made noise on Reddit and retreated from these constellations. By we, he's saying goons. He's directly saying goons.
Sure, right.
You can see it there. I've never seen goons living in catch. Have you, Kaz?
Very, very few. Let's put it that way. There was a nice thread about this. I think it was like 6 months ago when PanFam was first forcing these alliances out of the south, where one of the alliances that was an impasse basically just folded up, right? And I don't know if they fully disbanded or what their corps ended up doing, but they went and posted and said, Dracarys gave us impasse for free. They just wanted we needed some place to live, and they were like, oh hey, why not over here? And that was all it was. Just I don't know. It's a different way of thinking about things, I guess. So they did have an impact, right? Some of the alliances folded. A lot of them have changed around. Some of them have sworn fealty to PanFam. Others of them have been forced from their space. That does have an impact. But were we living there? No. Gobbins identifies it. Floodplains is our tech. And they would have to show some commitment to actually hold it for a longer time, and they're not doing that. So, I think it's a question of telling your members when they're going to actually take a fight in a situation where it could be a big one. And they have done that sometimes, or tried to create situations where they can do that. At the capital level, and then occasionally other times seem like they're not willing to buck up and move their assets. I guess that's all I'll say about that. We'll see what happens. A lot can happen yet,
But he's not saying much because she's too polite to interrupt me and Kaz. Like, she's also muted at the moment. I'm the one on this stream that messes up with mutes, Betty.
We had
Hardware
muted
muted,
ourselves
Betty.
because we were
There we go.
listening
There
to
you go.
I didn't want to. I was laughing so hard at Mountain Frank. I didn't want anybody to hear it.
That's understandable.
So yeah, at the bottom there, he says, now they have deployed supers to take back what we flipped with 3 SIGs.
Right. That there's the pretending I mentioned.
I can get receipts for this, but I do not have them currently. But,
part of that is accurate. We have deployed
is.
supers.
Yeah. But the 3 SIGs is a load of bullshit.
Of course.
Is it a SIG deployment when those SIGs run away from any fleet that comes near them because they're flying nightmares and don't have the cojones, or just don't want to lose expensive ships on their kill board? Is it a SIG deployment when they deploy their entire alliance, everything other than supers, to the region, and ping their entire alliance every time we form a fleet in that area? That's not a SIG deployment, Gobbins. You deployed there. You're just trying to spin it as SIGs to make us look bad.
I mean, at least one of these SIGs, I won't say I tracked them all specifically. I'm not going to commit to that. I'm not a reporter. But at least one of these SIGs, I'm pretty sure, was formed after they undeployed from their F4R keep the first time, or whatever it was. One of the back and forths ended up with this SIG being created. And so it was a post hoc sort of justification for keeping people doing stuff down there without committing. Good for them. Right, fine. The region's burnt over 2 or 3 times now. So
yeah, it just kind of fell into our hands. We didn't choose to have it. It just kind of, oh look, we found this laying about. Let's pick it up. But yeah, so we got that, and they're evacing. And I have found, ladies and gentlemen, the one member of NC Dot that undocks everybody. There was an NC Dot guy undocked. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm shocked he's not been kicked because he lost a cap.
Can we recruit him? Yeah, no shit, huh?
Yeah, he's probably soon to be kicked. But yeah, a member of NC Dot, surprisingly in oh shit, which is not where he needs to be going. He needs to learn how a jump drive works.
This is just last night, right? I heard about this.
Was undocked, clearly off tether because he died in his faction dread. I'm sure Vince is quite upset. His kill board actually has a kill on it.
That alliance might have bigger problems.
Well, yeah, but yeah, and then BFL, which isn't Altairi's group, it's Horde's elite dudes.
Bean Foreign Legion.
Yes, bit cringe.
Ours is a mocking parody name.
Decided that the best way to get their Entosis facts out was to jump into the wrong system and try and gate. And went as expected. Everybody. So
isn't this our job? I thought dumbly losing capitals was our job.
I mean,
Dave Archer.
What?
You just said it. I thought women do that.
No, I said I thought we're meant to be bad.
Oh.
Jeez, babe.
Hey, it's been a long day.
But yeah,
got me on a work day.
It comes a time when BFL and NC are making ASCII look good. Guys, that's my job to make ASCII look good. Can you stop making it easier? Thank you. So yeah.
By the way, the chat agrees that they heard women.
I said that's what we do, but yeah.
We're meant and women. I understand the confusion.
Blame the accent. So,
right.
Kaz, do you think you're going to be paying out some big SRP bills?
Anything can happen. I am always prepared for us to lose half of the super capital armada to a strategic error. That said, it doesn't look like they want that.
No.
Badly enough, because that would also involve them losing hopefully some fraction of theirs. So they're not giving the "we want to fuck" signal, at least.
No,
it's a hot summer. That can change. We could still persuade them, but But no, it doesn't seem like that. It sort of is. It seems like they're going to pull back and then bide their time, and that might be in one of the original pings how they Goblins feels like this is a successful strategy for them to bide their time and come back when we get bored. Um,
Oh no,
we'll see what happens.
They're gonna destroy all the solving catch again. Oh, jeez. I'm afraid.
So,
However, what I do recall him saying once that he would push until he found where it hurts and twist the knife.
really, do you have that
Yeah.
quote? Oh, that would make me so.
I will. Let me open.
I'd probably make an inappropriate facial expression right on stream if you brought that up.
I am going to look now. It's a while ago. We have a look. Hey, maybe he deleted it. Let's have a look. They have a lot of random bullshit in their channel, so give me a sec. But while I'm looking for this, I'm just gonna search it. Betty, what is your take on the war? Because you've never been really in a war. Because you started after
Yeah,
the
so I mean, even seeing Fountain Frank is very exciting because I got to watch a little bit of the meta show before I joined the game. In fact, I watched like 6 months of it, but I wasn't playing the game. I'm just 3 years in. In fact, I joined after a Mind One end of war stream. So I literally
Okay.
missed it by a day
Sure.
exactly. And I'm just wondering, like, what do we expect now? Like, what is to come for newbies that haven't been to war yet?
Lots
Like
of
a real
structure
war.
shot. Lots
Yeah.
of structure shot. Yeah, so I mean that I'm being sort of facetious, but maybe not. If they really don't defend, then that is what it is. We're just gonna go siege all of their stuff and burn it down, and then what happens then is still classified. Right. And what that sometimes means is we haven't even decided. What it means is that we still haven't figured out what the right choice is. Um, but where the war ends, and if we redraw our space and say actually we're going to try and hold all of this where previously we've been uncommitted to catch, that's also not known. you know but yeah, typically a lot of getting kill mails on your favorite characters of structures that are undefended is what happens if they don't. So and then they try and mess with you right when those fleets eventually start losing numbers. They'll try and shoot them and eventually decide whether they want to actually throw down over any of this region, and they're positioned to do it still. Just a few months ago they were crowing about how they were using caps, and we were not. A lot can happen. They can bring a lot of stuff down from Curse. They're very well positioned there. There's not anything that can threaten them moving to Curse, and not solely because of Zarzak, just because of the map and how it is, right? They have a straight shot down from the drone regions, so this could be huge in a way, but they're not giving those signals. They're not giving the I want to fuck signal.
I have
So
a quote.
it probably is going to be another phase of the same cycle we've seen, but now with Equinox in the mix, where everyone is saying actually, well, it takes 10 to 15 billion to solve a new system because of all the skyhooks. A lot of people don't have the upgrades. They don't have the reagents yet. Systems, it's hard to get what you want out of the system. Not all systems can be Ansiblexed. So if it can't be Ansiblexed, are you even going to Sav hub it? If you don't need the strat upgrade, the strat index that takes time. There's all these new questions that haven't played out yet. And so this might be one of the first places it really plays out in a large block-on-block conflict. Obviously, that is sort of happening in the southeast as people fight, but it's much smaller scale. So
I have a quick quote. It's not the twist the knife one, but it's almost as good. I'm still looking for that one. In one of his pings, he did a little Q&A bit at the bottom. Should we not hunker down at home and wait for the new patch? His answer: negative. I don't want to sit around for 20 days just to replace some pokers while we could be smoking jabronis. While the so-called jabronis have come to smoke, and you're running away.
we brought the big trees.
I mean, you claim you want to fight, you claim you want to kill. Why don't you show it? I'm going to keep scrolling here to find what I want. Drama.
Yeah, so I've been waiting years for this at this point, and I was really excited about it. But
It has been a long time.
come on,
So
let's
were
go.
you
Let's go.
were you playing much for last year's war in the north?
No, I was doing a lot of space paperwork. I will admit to that.
I mean,
Okay,
it was a
interesting.
war, but it not on the
had a
scale
much-
this could turn into.
Well,
I feel
yeah,
like we
certainly.
got there and then came back, and I didn't really have a chance to engage in it.
It did. It went fast because we had the target of the 4 keep stars. We did bring the what I call the punish ball, the super cat blob, up there to deal with that, and that was very noteworthy because we took them across the Stargate. That made a lot of news. People who didn't think that that could happen. But then we took them home after that, and they re-anchored a keep star, and it ended up with B3 eventually not holding up. So this is a much different character potentially, right? It doesn't have us trying to support someone against again this is another PandaFam SIGs operation up there. We're not nearly that far away, and we're also not nearly as far from home when we are deployed. Being deployed all the way up across Fountain is actually very significant. You can make it work, and the combination of a couple key Ansiblex and the constellation gates in Fountain are what make it work. But we were much farther than that. We were way up in Fade, right? We were 3 regions away from home. Now we're 2, right, in Catch, and it's not even a big 2 because Quirius is so close. And there,
you
it's
can
just
jump to the Catch regional from down, like.
Right. It's a totally different thing. Now, like I said, they have many advantages here. They have quick transport to Curse, and they have also secure capital transport to Curse. They could bring a lot of heavy hardware and make us punch through a lot if they wanted to reclaim this region. There's nothing really stopping them necessarily from doing that other than a cost-benefit analysis. Yeah, and I guess maybe that's what they're communicating is they care equally little as we do, but that's something that pans out in talking to your membership when, like Dave was getting at just a few weeks ago, they were saying, "Oh, we want to smoke jabronis." Well, who were you smoking if you can't handle us when we deploy? What was actually happening there? Was a lot of smoking happening? Anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so I spent 6 months watching the game before and the meta show and other streams before I actually played the game. And I was just wondering, are we going to get to that point where we're in one system with a wood chipper and it's just so intense? Like,
I sure hope not.
Not probably, but it was very exciting to watch at the time. Right. I do remember somebody being very nervous about jumping or warping through a system and getting caught in a bubble at one point, but I didn't understand it at the time. I do now.
Sure.
And M2, I did watch M2. That was like the first interaction I had with this game, and I thought y'all were nuts. I'm sorry, but now I'm in it. So yes.
See, I want them to fight as well because I need to keep up a reputation. I need a war where I crash a node. It's happened every time for the last 4 years. We need to have a fight where I can do that. You got to keep that reputation.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah,
I think that's all we have time for. Any final thoughts, you guys? Anyone? Betty?
That's a good question.
So we're not doing. I just want to confirm we're not doing meta show on Saturday. We're doing it tonight, right?
That was going to be my final thoughts in a minute.
Sorry.
Okay.
Great
so
minds,
that's
great
it for
minds
this
think
week.
alike.
Is that the deal? Okay. Yeah. My final thoughts are bring all of your stuff to Catch. That is my final thought. I have many more pilots already deployed than you might suspect. That is my exhortation for the Imperium. Bring all of your stuff.
I have 9 characters all capable of flying Triglavian ships that I can go out and just solo ref stuff with. And I do. Nice. It's quite fun.
It'll be exciting.
Betty, any
Actually, I do
final
have a
thoughts?
final thought.
Go.
Yeah, I'm really excited that my Triglavian refining skills might actually come to use soon. I'm on level 5 right now, so
Heck yeah.
that's kind of exciting.
All right, bring that
I
ore to
never thought that would
Nullsec.
happen.
And my final thought before I do the little "we're not going this Saturday" is, quite frankly, I cannot wait for the fun. They better fight. Yes, as Betty mentioned earlier, I unfortunately have work on Saturday night. One of the unfortunate things of working as a manager in a bar, occasionally you get a really crap rota. Last Saturday, very sorry we're doing it today, because a fight broke out in my bar and required me to be present all evening. Really drove me nuts. So Meta Show will be back next week. Until such time, farewell all.
All right, August 3rd. Stay classy.